All right, cool. So we're going to start talking today about social skills. So what social skills is, how we deal with them, etc., etc. So let me share my screen. Also, feel free to use the chat box. I will be asking a couple of questions, so feel free. Oops, let me move you guys out of the way. All right, so like I said, we are talking about social skills. All right, so do you consider yourself shy? Yes or no? You can answer it on your own. You can put it in the chat box. Do you think you are shy around other people or anybody in general? Feel free to answer on the chat box. Do you consider yourself shy? Okay, cool. So yeah, I consider myself pretty shy as well. So what do you think why do you think people are shy or uncomfortable situations? There's no right answer to this. But is there a reason do you think people are shy, or like, why do you think you're shy with other people? And like I said, there's not really a good answer to this. I think everybody's just shy at some point in their life. And they feel like, not comfortable with approaching other people or anything. So there's quite a few things we can do to overcome our shyness. So, like I said, there's ways to overcome our shyness. We need to learn how to act. So when I say that, that means we need to learn how to initiate that conversation. So we need to learn how to start small. So I'm not telling you to go ahead, dive in. The first person you see, stranger, go up to them, have a full-blown conversation. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about start small. So like, let's say there's somebody in your class, you know who they are, they know who you are, but y'all haven't really chit-chatted, and you might want to get to know them a little bit more. You need to start small. So develop scripts. So what would you say to this person? Like, hey, did you do the homework last night? Or hey, how was your weekend, right? Start small. And kind of develop a script on how you would say that and how the conversation would go. So if you get anxiety, what are some ways that you can do to get anxiety? There's lots of ways to deal with anxiety in these situations. One of them is probably just not say anything, right? If it's making you uncomfortable, you don't want to talk to this person, maybe just don't say anything. But what are other ways that you can control your anxiety when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody? Or maybe talking to your teacher, trying to clear some things up with your teacher if they gave you a wrong grade and you need to tell them like, hey, I did this homework, why didn't you put the right grade in, right? So that would give me a lot of anxiety, actually, especially with authority figures. I think I get a lot of anxiety with that. So just think of some ways that you can deal with your anxiety that way. So try to initiate social contacts, and they initiate social contacts involving just saying hello, how are you? That's very simple. You can just say, hey, how's it going? Like I said, how was your weekend? Did you do the homework? What do you think of so-and-so's class? The other thing that's very nerve-wracking is calling somebody on the phone. I know we don't do that very often nowadays. We do a lot of Snapchatting or texting. Talking on the phone's not very big anymore. So this could be a big one as well. I get very anxious whenever I have to call folks like your parents or something and give them information about a clubhouse. Sometimes I do get anxious because I don't know if your parents are busy or if they're not interested anymore or if they don't have the time, so I'm not quite sure. So I do get a little anxious when I have to talk on the phone with some folks. I remember when I first started here at Next Generation, I was super anxious to do that, but now it's getting better. So let's talk about giving and receiving compliments. So tell me in the chat box, is it hard to receive a compliment? Why do you think it's hard? So 2 questions in this. Is it hard to receive a compliment, and why is it hard to receive a compliment? And then I'll kind of give you my answer on what I think about this. So let me know in the chat box. Okay, so no, it's not hard to receive a compliment. Okay, cool. So for me, I'll go ahead and say it. I don't think as well, I'm with you, Sam. I don't think it's hard to receive a compliment. And I think it's because I don't think I have a good excuse on why I don't think it's hard, but I just think it's kind of a natural thing. I like to give compliments a lot. So when I receive them, it's like, oh, thanks, you know? But for some people, it is hard to receive a compliment. Some people don't know how to respond when somebody gives them a compliment or says something nice to them. They don't know what to do. They don't know whether to say thank you, whether to run away, whether to say anything at all. So I can see how it could be hard, but I can also see how it's not hard. So second question, do you give compliments to people? If so, how often? And I know you might not be counting how many compliments you give people, but do you give compliments to people? And just kind of give me an estimate on like how many times you give compliments to people, maybe in a week. So think about it. Do you give compliments to other people? And also I want you to think about what's easier. Is it easier to receive or give a compliment? Which one do you think is easiest, receive or give a compliment? So take a few seconds and just answer on the chat box. Do you think it's easier to receive or to give a compliment? Easier to receive? Okay. Okay, Samuel, I like that. Easier to receive. So I'm gonna go back to question 2. Some people, which goes back to question 3, some people find it easier to give a compliment than it's easier to receive a compliment. But some people might think it's easier to receive than to give, right? I do admit that giving a compliment is pretty hard because you have to find something that you like about the person and like it sincerely, and you have to say it in a sincere voice, because a lot of people might think when you give them a compliment, you're just being sarcastic or you really don't like what they have on, you know? So I can see how giving a compliment can be pretty hard. But again, it's easy to receive, right? Yes, it's easy to receive and say thank you. Like I said, some people struggle with that. All right, moving on. So there's steps to this thing. So you can give a compliment to somebody. And I know it's easier to receive, but if we need some help to give a compliment, if you keep these 3 things in mind, you should be solid. Pick something to compliment the person about, whether it's their shirt, maybe their jeans, their shoes, maybe a bracelet or a necklace, their hair, anything. Pick something to compliment on. Look at the person you're complimenting. So if you want to give somebody that's standing right in front of you a compliment, don't be looking left to right and giving them the compliment. They're not going to know you're actually talking to them. And say the compliment in a sincere voice. Like I said previously, if you sound sarcastic, like, I really like your shirt. Like, that doesn't sound very convincing. That sounds kind of like an obligated compliment. So make sure that you pick something you actually really like on this person. Look at the person you're complimenting and say it in a sincere voice. Like, hey, I really love that color on you. Or, hey, I really love that shirt on you. That's awesome. Or, you look great in it, you know? So don't make it sound fake, pretty much. So when receiving a compliment, so I know we don't have difficulty with this, but some of us do. So let's talk about receiving a compliment. What do you do when someone gives you a compliment? So right now, if I said, hey, I really like your hat, like, how would you respond to me? And I did a little important thing. There are 2 things you should not do when receiving a compliment. Okay, so let's see if you guys kind of know. So going back to the first question, if I give you a compliment or anybody gives you a compliment, how would you respond to that compliment? If they said they like your shirt or they like your shoes, your hat, I don't know, how would you respond to receiving a compliment from somebody else? Would you get freaked out maybe? Or would you just be like, hey, thanks? Maybe would you give them a compliment back? Question mark. Well, let's find out. There is 2 things though that you should not do, and I'll get into these here in the next slide. And if you know what it is, bonus points for you. So don't dismiss it. So if I give you a compliment and say, hey, I really like your shirt, don't dismiss it and be like, oh, you don't like my shirt. You just like the color, that's why. Don't dismiss my compliment, because it like hurts my feelings and it makes me not want to give you another compliment because I know you're going to say something negative back. And don't downplay yourself. So if I'm like, hey, I like your shirt, don't be like, oh, this shirt, I've had it for 10 years. It's old. Don't downplay yourself. Like, if I give you a compliment and this is a sincere compliment, it's because I really mean it. So don't make me feel bad for giving you a compliment. So that's important. Don't do those two things. What you can do is accept the compliment. Just say thank you so much. And maybe give another compliment in return. I know this one's kind of risky because the person might be saying, hey, I gave them a compliment. And now they feel like they have to give me a compliment. But you could do it. I mean, there's nothing in the rule book that says you can't. I know I do it all the time. So if somebody says, hey, I like your shoes, I'll be like, oh, really? Thanks. I really like your shirt or something. So it's not bad to give and receive a compliment in the same moment. But again, don't dismiss your compliment and don't downplay yourself when someone gives you a compliment, because those are big no-nos. You don't want the person giving you a compliment feeling like dumb for giving you a compliment, or feeling like, ew, why did I just give this person a compliment if they're like dissing it? Like, that's not cool. So don't do that. Make them feel nice and good that they gave you a compliment. So let's talk about some conversation skills. So this one's, some of us might not be very good at conversation skills. Some of us may be great at it. But the first things first is you need to initiate a conversation, right? Maybe somebody else will initiate the conversation to start it for you. But if you're doing it, make sure you look for someone who might be approachable, right? Introduce yourself, maybe give a compliment. If they're doing something, maybe offer your help. The other thing is, once the conversation is going, keep the conversation going. So don't make it about yourself and say, hey, I have this and I have that and I do this and I play that. Make it about the person you're talking about. So ask them questions like, hey, what do you do? That's awesome. What do you like to do? What are your favorite activities? What are your hobbies? What do you do on your spare time? So make it about them. You want them to feel like you're really interested in them, which you should be if you're having a conversation with them. Make them feel like you're interested in them. You want to know more about them, who they are, what they do, all that good stuff. Don't make it about you, because eventually they'll end up asking questions about you as well to get to know each other. And the last thing it's important is end the conversation on a good note. So don't just like mid-sentence get up and walk away because you're done with the conversation. Very nicely say, hey, had a good chat with you. It was awesome. Nice to meet you. Hope to talk to you again, all that good stuff. End it on a good note. Like, it's smooth, it's natural. Don't just abruptly get up and leave. Like, don't be rude, you know? So this is important, how to maintain your conversation skills. So next, let's chat about attractiveness. Okay, so this one is a little bit different. So what do you think it means when I say someone's attractive? Attractiveness can mean a lot of different things, right? So what do you think it means when I say someone's attractive? Might mean something different to me, or might mean something different to you. So yes, Samuel, thank you. They look nice, right? So yeah, it's something that looks nice and it looks nice to you, right? So I kind of answered the next question. Does that mean everyone's attracted to the same person? What do you think? Do you think everyone's attracted to the same person? I'll give you a second. No, right? Not everyone's attracted to the same person. I might be attracted to something you're not attracted to. Or, you know, there's times where two or more people are attracted to the same person or the same thing, right? But it's uncommon for everyone to be attracted to the same thing. So no, everyone is not attracted to the same person. So nice. So this one, a lot of people actually get mixed up with this one. So what's the difference between physical and non-physical attributes? So what would be one physical attribute about a person? And what would be one non-physical attribute about a person? So think about it. Physical, non-physical. What is the difference between those two? So let's start with physical. Physical attribute might be smile, right? Might be their smile, their eyes, the way they laugh, their hair, their hands, anything you can see, right? That would be a physical attribute. Non-physical attribute is more of like things you cannot see. So like nice and smart and intelligent and genuine, humble. Those are things that are non-physical attributes. Non-physical attributes are things that you find out about a person once you get to know them, right? Like they're, they're rude or they're very nice, right? Those are non-physical attributes, stuff you cannot see. So let's chit chat about, what if someone you like comes up to you and starts talking to you, right? What happens? Do you like know how to carry on the conversation, or are you more like you tense up, your hands start sweating, you get nervous, you might stutter, you might not look at them, look away from them? Like, what happens when someone you like talks to you? There's a lot of different things. Some people might be comfortable and they'll be like, hey, what's up? Carry on normal conversation, right? Some people might not. Some people freeze up and they tense up and they're just, it's like they're deer in headlights. They just stop, right? And you see this in movies all the time, where a person just blabbers about like nonsense. And this is different, right, than talking to any other person. So the person you like versus talking to your kindergarten friend, it's different, right? You can flow a conversation with someone you've known for years, but someone you're attracted to is like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to say anything wrong or say anything stupid, right? So there's a difference. There's a big difference. So social activities. A lot of people hesitate to plan a social activity, so with a group of people, because they can never find anything fun to do. So give me suggestions of what a group of people can do as a social activity. Like, what can they do to go out and have a good time? Think about your area where you live in. Like, if you and a couple of friends wanted to get together, what would you guys do? Where would you guys go to have, a fun time and just hang out with each other? And I know those of you who live in Dawson County, it's a little bit harder to do social activities. Okay, maybe play a video game in the basement. Actually, that's really a good idea, Samuel. So now, especially with things, not everything being open and us have to be indoors all the time. So yeah, maybe play a video game in the basement. So maybe have some friends over, or you can do it virtually, right? Connect with them virtually and host a game or something. So that's a really good idea. Virtually is different. Yeah, virtually is different. So yeah, like hosting a video game, doing a video game night, having maybe everyone over for a video game night. So that's a good idea. The other social activities that maybe you could go out is, maybe go walk around the mall, or, go to the movies. And I know a lot of those things aren't a possibility right now, but maybe in the future they could be. Maybe just like a FaceTime hangout, right? Like hanging out with all your friends just on FaceTime and everyone's on it, just chit-chatting away, or a Zoom call or a Zoom party. So yeah, people have gotten very creative, especially since COVID hit, on how to hang out with their friends. So I know some of us may not have experience with asking someone out. Some of us might have. So I'm going to give you a few pointers on how to ask someone out. So first things first is have something in mind. Don't just go up to this person and just like stare at them blankly. They're going to be like, why is this person staring at me? So make sure you have something in mind. Have an alternative ready so that the other person has some freedom of choice. So maybe you have something in mind about like, hey, let's go to the movies, right? But if they can't go to the movies because of COVID, have something in mind. Hey, okay, maybe we can stream together a movie and watch it while we're on FaceTime, right? Get to the point and don't beat around the bush. So don't just keep going around in circles trying to get to the point. So don't be like, hey, I'm not sure if you'll be able to do this or not. I'm not sure if you want to go or not. I don't know if you want to do it. But I was thinking, like, that's just too many words, beating around the bush. Just get to the point. And don't sound negative about it. So don't sound like they're doing you a favor, or expect him or her to say no. So don't be like, hey, I know you're going to say no, but I was thinking, like, no, don't do that. Just have it in mind, be straightforward. Hey, I was thinking about going to the movies. I know with COVID it's kind of hard, so I was thinking we could go to the movies. Maybe we can have like a FaceTime hangout where we watch the same movie together and kind of, just hang out. So have an alternative. So now switching the roles. What if someone asks you out? So if you can go, or you can virtually do it, just, sound excited about it. sound like, hey, I really do want to do that. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I'll see you there. If you can't go, say, you know, no thanks, I'd like to go, but maybe give them alternative and say, maybe we can do it next weekend, right? And if you don't want to go, just be honest. Be honest about it if you don't want to go. I know it sounds harsh, like to say no, I don't want to go on a date with you, or I don't want to go see this movie with you. But it's better to tell them up front that you're not interested than leading the person on. What's worse is leading the person on and making them think that they have a chance at one point to go out with you or something. So just tell them straight up, like, no, not my gig, don't want to do it, thank you. Again, you don't want to hurt their feelings later on down the road. So a few tips. If you can go, like I said, be enthusiastic about it. Say, yes, I want to go. This is going to be awesome. We're going to have a great time. If you can't go, but you want to, let them know that. Let them know, like, hey, I really, really do want to go, but I can't. I have a project to do this weekend. Maybe we can do it next weekend at in the evening instead of the morning, right? So, congrats. You're all social skills certified. Wow, so we know all about social skills now. We know what to do when someone asks us out. If we want to ask someone out, we know how to take compliments. We know how to receive compliments. And we know, what else do we know? We know how to take compliments, receive compliments. And we know what to do if someone asks us out, if we can go, if we can't go, if we don't want to go, right? So anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that. That was awesome. That was great. Thank you for coming to my social skills lesson.